Sometime in like 2019, this is what Twitch looked like. But amidst the peak of the pandemic in 2020, this is what it looked like. You see, when a game is recognized by Mr. Beast, the god of all content creators itself, you know it's serious. This is what chess looked like back in 6th century AD, and this is what it looks like now. But how did we get here? To truly answer that question, I believe we should go back to where it all started. See, funnily enough, the game chess had actually originated on a battlefield. No, not that battlefield. Yeah, it's a battlefield, but not the correct one. Ooh, perfect. Here we are. Welcome to India, home to ridiculous fight scenes, overplayed drama movies, and of course the birth of chess. Back in the day, India ran on a monarchy, just like many other countries. The monarchy back in the day was known as Gupta. Why is that important, you may ask? Well, it's because the birth of chess was based on an argument between two princes. Yes, apparently these princes had time to argue during a literal battlefield head-to-head combat. Talk about some last-minute planning. So, little brother decided, yeah, screw this, I'm going out here and fighting on my own. So, not surprisingly, he was immediately killed. The elder brothers confidently laughed in front of that brother's face, knowing how much of an idiot he truly was. Until one of the brothers realized, wait, what are we gonna tell mom? Yeah,
we're fucked.
So instead of manning up to their own queen mom and telling them the full truth for some whatever reason, they decided to explain it in the form of a game. The game was played on a 8x8 board, better known as Chaturanga. They basically sugarcoated this little brother's death harder than a Disney movie during a death scene. Yeah, literally. For those who are wondering if this strategy actually worked, well, take the words "the king was captured" and "the king was killed" and replace those two letters together, and yeah, captured sounds a lot better than killed, so I guess yeah, in a sense it did work. And with that, the game known as Chaturanga was born. It was only until a couple decades later that the game had hit the Persian Empire, and the king of Persia was like, yeah, this is a stupid name, we need to change this name immediately. One of the king's henchmen suggested the name better known as chess, as you all know today. And let's be real, the name chess is a way better name. I mean, the name practically rolls off the tongue, so yeah, it's a really good, short, and creative name. Yeah, so the king of Persia was like, yeah, once we start to take over the other nations, we'll start to spread this game and act as if we were the ones who came up with the idea.
Wait a minute!
Isn't that stealing?
I don't give a shit!
So fast forward about 100 years from now into the 7th century AD. Turns out the very same empire that created the term "the king is helpless" ended up becoming helpless themselves. Oh, the dreaded irony. Once the Arabs had got their hands on the chess and Persian empire, they then chose to turn a game which was once a tactical simulation into a game of etiquette and poetic imagery. Basically turning it into a game meant for smartasses. They then were able to spread the word of this luxurious game through the beloved Silk Road. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This then led to a couple of heavily inspired versions of chess from the Chinese and Japanese cultures. With China, they had Chinese chess. Mongolia decided to create a 11x10 board instead of 8x8 for whatever reason, and Japan created shogi, which unlike traditional chess, if you capture a piece, you actually capture a piece, because that piece ends up becoming part of your army. So yeah, I mean, let's be real here. This is what happens when that one kid creates an essay and tells you to write it in your own words.
Hippity hoppity, my property.
Alright, fast forward this to about 10th century AD, and so Europe had the great idea of copying another creation again. Europe was like, alright, new year, new me, new customization, new creation. They straight up took the idea of original chess, customized all the pieces, and for some reason decided to use it in schools as a way to teach kids math and English, which makes about as much sense as your economics teacher using Monopoly as a way to properly manage manage your money, like. Now, in an unfortunate amount of events, for some reason the European Church saw a bunch of wooden carved pieces as a threat towards their Catholic beliefs and a distraction towards people praying to the Lord, so they banned it.
Pussy.
Yes, a game involving wooden pieces somehow threatened a literal church of God. So, Pope, you recently banned a chess game. Can you, undo that ban, please?
Fuck no! Fine,
we'll include a piece on the board game that constantly reminds people of Christianity beliefs and the belief that the church exists. I'm all ears. Go on. Yes, it is called The Bishop. Alright, fair enough, unbanned.
You can't beat him.
Join. Kinda cool, but what are you doing for
women empowerment?
Said someone on Rosetta Stone, aka pre-medieval Twitter.
You know what, that's actually not a bad point.
And with that knowledge, they then chose to replace the Virgin King's advisor into a powerful queen who basically dominated the majority of games on the chess board. We all know the feeling of losing a queen in a game of chess. It sucks. This was not only a W for women, but also helped spice up games by a long send. Now, with this addition of spicy pieces, we then got a thing called chess theory and the Enlightenment movement. Yes, a game about moving pieces had managed to create its own theory. We had conspiracy theories on one end, and then we had chess theory on the other end.
Okay.
That's great and all, but how exactly am I supposed to prove to people how good I am at this game? Well, fear not, because in the 1920s, chess has now become an official sport with a true ranking title. Both divisions are separated by men and women. The latter board consisted of various players such as Garry Kasparov and various other famous chess players throughout the century. This was until the Deep Blue by the IBM, which has nothing to do with the ocean, by the way, which was a final computer that was actually able to beat the #1 best player in the world. And to this day, computers still are able to demolish millions of players around the world. We need to spice things up. So they took a game that requires mental strategy and also put it with a game that requires physical strength and combat. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to chess boxing. Now, just like normal boxing, the rules are almost the same, except instead of 11 rounds of continuous fighting, you either get 5 or 6 rounds worth of boxing. So even if you're the Mike Tyson of boxing, unless you knock out your opponent on the first round, you still need to at least have a decent knowledge of chess. So anyone's able to become a chess boxer, but trust me, if you're someone who writes diss tracks towards teachers, has dropped out of high school, and is a general pretty clueless person, do not join. You will get checkmated within 8 moves and look like a total idiot. But then the internet started to get a little bit more mainstream, and people were like, how exactly can we keep milking off of this game? Let's see. Oh, I got it. Let's turn this game into a literal battlefield and make all of the characters actual fighting champions. Perfect. Until you realize the painful reality of how slow these pieces actually move.
He's almost there. Any minute now.
2 hours later.
What the fuck?
He's almost a quarter of the way there.
Zoom in right here on this spot.
Wait, what's this? Thank goodness for that, and now while we're at it, everything else looks hella updated. The graphics are better, and now the pieces have more detail. The queen is a badass who's literally OP for no reason. The knight is an idiot who literally just has less brain cells than the horse he rides into battle with. The pawn is just, well, they're just pawns. The rook is just a drunken idiot, and last but not least, the king practically gets carried by pretty much everyone on this whole map. That's all you need to know. Now, seeing the success of that game's progression, the company was like, what can we do to make our game better and more clickable for viewers? So they asked the community, so what do you guys want in the next edition of Battle Chess? And this is what the community said.
Tits and blood.
Wow, guys, wow. Very mature, guys, very mature. So the company was like, well, we can't put tits in our video games, but we can put blood in them, that's for sure. So then they released Warhammer 4000 Regicide. It's basically basically the version of chess but M-rated and the one with a bunch of blood like it's a horror movie. Pretty much all you need to know. The 2020 pandemic had shockingly actually revived the genre. Fast forward a couple weeks later and XQC accidentally becomes a meme and a laughing stock within the community after getting checkmated under 6 moves. This then leads to even more engagement and a bigger explosion of the genre, with 3 of the biggest chess creators, Agamotto, Gotham, and Hikaru, hitting the coveted 1 million subscriber milestones in no time. Fast forward about a couple days later and PogChamps, the tournament hosted by Chess.com, blows up on Twitch and their platform, so Chess.com decides to create PogChamps 2, 3, and 4, capitalizing on this growth, with the 4 streamers Itzhafu, Voyboy, Sardosh, and of course Nicolol becoming triumphant over everyone else, with PogChamps number 4 having a prize pool of about $100,000, almost as much as a legitimate esports tournament. Now, speaking of esports, organizations such as Envy, TSM, and CLG decided to capitalize on this growth as well by signing the Bota sisters to Envy, aka Nemsko to CLG, and Hikaru to TSM. Now trust me, Hikaru may be 30 plus years old, but trust me, he's doing a better job at carrying TSM than the other esports millennials ever could, so give that man a round of applause. Now obviously, it would be ridiculous to say that this game's popularity hasn't dipped since its peak in 2020, but this just shows you that yes, over 600 AD, almost 1500 years ago, this game has managed to keep its relevancy by being entertaining, passed down, and of course recreated by various other cultures. Unlike many other sports out there, chess is probably one of the most mainstream and most well-known sports out there, getting supported by various other popular content creators and also being passed down to the Gen Z nation. So ultimately, that's going to conclude my 2 cents of knowledge to the history of this sport. See you guys later.